It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Thursday, January 9th. Thank you for kicking it off, our friends from the Scorpions. Rocking us like the hurricanes. The winter hurricanes come across the plain states and freeze us out. Okay, that's enough of my Teutonic insanity for the morning, I do believe. But I get excited when I hear the Scorpions this early. Let's get right into it. Your top 5 and 6. Here's the things we think you need to know. The future has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what you thought was going to be happening in 2025. I don't even remember what I thought, because all I know is that it is finally time to put aside all of our fears and step into flying taxis.
It's about damn time. I've been waiting for this since I was 6. Let's go.
Thank you very much. A company called Joby Aviation is about to unroll their eVTOL, E-V-T-O-L. That stands for something to do with electronic Voltana hybrid vehicle. I don't know. Who cares? It's a terrible acronym. No one's going to want to say eVTOL. This is what it is, flying taxis. We've been told these were coming, and now apparently it's absolutely true. This is the carrot that has been dangled for years. Thanks to the development of a new breed of electric aircraft, they say they're quieter than helicopters and potentially greener as well. Okay, an autonomous hybrid electric vehicle that's a luxury flying taxi. I'm going to wait for the second generation, maybe the third generation myself, before I'll hop into one. EVTOL, electric vertical takeoff and landing. That's what it actually stands for.
That's cool. Well, that's why these things are always expensive. You mentioned luxury there. So these things are going to be expensive. We send the rich people up first. That way, if anyone gets killed, it's not a real big deal.
Yeah.
No huge loss to society. And then, then when they get it all figured out, that the price is somewhat affordable, I'll haul my drunk ass in there. Although, the last time I took a ride share when I had too much to drink in Minneapolis, I was in Minneapolis just going to Golden Valley, not very far. And at one point I look up and I go, dude, why are we on 494? Huh? What? Huh? I know. So, I mean, it's like, can you imagine? I'll be able to look down and I'll go, is that Chicago down there, dude? Because get my ass home now.
Well, I think, it's not going to be it will be, I should say, a hot minute before it gets here, because the company, Joby Aviation, they're starting service in Dubai this year, followed by, in their plans, first New York, then Los Angeles, and then eventually moving it on elsewhere. The guy that runs the company says the whole business plan for these aircraft is to provide a compelling transportation service for the public. It's not one of those, we just want to have a rich person shuttle so they can fly over traffic.
Yes, it is.
And thumb their noses at the proletariat.
Yeah.
That's a real quote. Let me tell you something. When you throw the word proletariat out there, like in an offhand comment, you know what you're talking about, and that's exactly what you mean. I'm over here, and you're down there. Good luck to you.
Jerk off.
Number 4 on your Sorry, I'll heighten that up and double it up for emphasis, jerk off. On number 4 on your top 5 and 6. How about this? The city of our friends in Hudson, right across the state line, they're lobbying Wisconsin state officials. They want to see a new law passed that would make boat abandonment a criminal offense.
Come on.
Yeah, man. If you can't abandon a boat anymore, what good is it?
Yeah, they're talking about this boat stuck out there on Beer Can Island.
Boat is still there. I opened up the strip today and I thought that something was wrong with the website, that they still had stories up from August, but that damn boat is still sitting there.
Yeah, I've been on it since November, squatting, so leave me alone. I take my little Lunds outboard over to the shore, jump in my truck, and away I go. Do you mind? Have you seen the rent around here?
So,
Jesus.
This guy, it's a 54-foot boat sitting on Beer Can Island. Somebody just dropped it there. The best part of this whole story to me is that as of November 2nd, that boat has a new owner. And if you want to hear a compelling Netflix show that I would watch today, Bill Warren is a, quote, treasure hunter, singer, as well as the disputed owner of a Caribbean island.
Okay,
that's the elevator pitch right there. I got a treasure hunter who's a singer, and he thinks he owns an island. Book it, make it the show right now. Apparently, he paid $250 for the boat just in November. His plan is to take this boat and bring it down to the Gulf of Mexico and search for buried treasure. Do you need more? He
Nope.
also was on a quest a few years ago to find what he believes is the underwater burial site of Osama bin Laden.
Oh, boy.
And also has been in a fight with the U.S. government over his ownership of a 2-mile island in the Caribbean that is covered with bird poop.
Wow.
Where is the film crew?
Does he need a first mate?
Yeah,
I'm volunteering right here.
I mean, I'm all for getting that law passed, and I'm sure it's upsetting for people in Hudson. But sorry, the guy that just bought the boat, that's your story.
Yeah.
That's your new hero. I want to follow a guy into the Gulf. He says, I want to refurbish the boat, bring it down the Mississippi all the way down. We'll bring a film crew. We'll show that journey. Dude, you won't make it past Iowa City. This will be great.
Yeah, they're going to pull that thing off the island. It's just going to disintegrate. And besides, you can't even see it from Hudson. Calm down. You know, I know it's a long winter over there. Just drink yourself into another stupor and leave the boat alone. It'll just vanish. It'll disappear. Someone will make it into a big bonfire out there.
You don't need to call your own shot so clearly, Zep. They're going to come looking for you when that thing goes up in flames. Number 3 on your top 5 and 6, morning coffee. What would we do without it? Well, you might have a little health issue without it because apparently Tulane University found that people who only drink coffee in the morning are less likely to die of heart disease than people who drank no coffee. In your face, teetotalers.
Yeah.
This is bad news in Salt Lake City, let me tell you.
Exactly. That's right. No hard drink for the Mormons.
That's
no
right.
coffee, no booze. But I'll tell you what, I can't tell you how many times, because I love to go out skiing in Salt Lake City, that I've stopped at a coffee kiosk and they go, coffee? We just have sugar drinks because sugar is their thing. They can have all the sugar they want. So if you pulled into a kiosk in a freaking grocery store parking lot that was named Swig, Swig, you'd think, I'll get a cup of coffee here. They're like, no, we make sugar drinks. How much sugar would you like in yours? 100%? 80%? Or are you a pussy and you only want 60% sugar water?
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of nuts, but yeah. Well, you know, you find your way around it. I smuggle coffee in with me.
Okay.
This study out of Tulane University says, drinking coffee in the morning will keep you living. There's another study they have that says, and then drinking hooch from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. is also very good for you.
Got the double.
That study brought to you by the Cafe Du Monde and every bar in the quarter. Okay. Number 2 on your top 5 and 6, Jimmy John's, the sandwich joint. Last year, this story pisses me off. Last year, I had a few Jimmy John's, and they had something they called Kickin' Ranch. It's a ranch dressing they can add, but it was kickin', had a little spice to it. And normally, I hate things like that. Even if I like the flavor, I'm like, oh, stop with your Kickin' Ranch. I had a sandwich, I tried it, and then I had to go back in, and I had to order my next damn sandwich, and I had to say, I'll have the Kickin' Ranch right now. I just felt like such a douchebag. Can I have your Kickin' Ranch, please? Just call it Hot Ranch or some Kickin' Ranch. Anyway, it disappeared last year, but now it's back, and it's back in a big way. Jimmy John's is now offering Kickin' Ranch as a soup.
What?
Kind of. It comes in now a 6-ounce soup-sized container, and they're like, hey, you want it for slurping, sipping, or dipping? And I read this, and I roll my eyes because I'm probably going to go get a couple of those 6-ounce Kickin' Ranches and work my way right through them. I
am sure I'm not the only one that's gone to the refrigerator and just pulled out the ranch bottle and took a swig. Come on.
Completely appropriate thing to do at certain times of the day, usually 3 a.m. I got to get that Vindaloo's barking. I got to pat it down a little bit.
It wasn't that long ago, honestly. I had lunch meat in one hand in the refrigerator in the middle of the night, door wide open. Lunch meat in one hand, just lunch meat. That's it, all rolled up, and then a bottle of ranch in the other hand. Bite of lunch meat, swig of ranch. Bite of lunch meat, swig of ranch. Back to bed.
That is LIVIN living, ladies and gentlemen. Quick morning shout out to our friends in River Falls, Wisconsin. Good to hear from you, River Falls. I like River Falls because you know what they think. They're like, you want to leave your boat here? Go for it. We don't care. They're not like those people in Hudson that are pissed off about abandoned boats. River Falls, come for the falls. Leave your boat. I don't know what the slogan is. Actually, don't leave your boat behind in River Falls. They'd probably hate it too. Number 1 on your top 5 and 6. The California wildfires, Southern California, continue to rage on. This is a historic nightmare. There's so many ripple effects, including one that does impact possibly and probably, and I think appropriately should impact the Vikings Monday Night Football game. The Vikings and Rams are supposed to play at SoFi Stadium. SoFi Stadium has got fires very nearby. And right now, there's no telling when this thing's going to get under control. The league, the NFL, is considering moving Monday night's wild card playoff game to possibly Phoenix. Why are you even considering it? Why don't you just do it? Because even if these fires get under control on the heels of this weekend, do we need 80, 90,000 people all crowding into one area at a zone that's still completely dry? There's no rain coming. It just seems kind of risky to me. I would just move the game, get everybody out of the way of everything in L.A. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's not really a home field advantage anyway. The Rams are in L.A. They're not in L.A. They're in L.A. They move them around. I mean, yeah, just take them to a neutral field, get it done, make the schedule happen. But I suppose, the implications there are that if you're a season ticket holder, there's that home field advantage thing, and you want to pay off. But, the tragedy is far outweighed and surpassed anything an NFL game could bring to that area. So, get them out of there.
And I just feel like you're asking for more headaches and more problems. I mean, the best case scenario is you still have a huge event with many tens of thousands of people that is just going to stop a fire truck from getting somewhere. That's I just look at it like,
and that
why?
air is like garbage right now.
Exactly.
Like,
and wouldn't it be nice, I think, just once for Phoenix area residents, Arizona Cardinal fans, to be able to attend a playoff game? Wouldn't that be nice for them?
Hey, man, no shortage of Minnesota snowbirds out in Arizona. They're welcome. They'll be like, bring that bad boy on. All right, there's your top 5 at 6. Moving on, if you're single, or if you want to pretend you're single and you like speed dating, you go to a place, you have a quick amount of time, maybe 60 seconds, maybe 5 minutes. You meet someone, you hang out, you see if you're going to get a vibe, a buzz, and then you move on to the next person. Speed dating. It's an old thing. Every few years, there's a big renewal of speed dating. Busch Light Beer has got a contest for you, especially if you're really into speed, as in also a NASCAR fan. Daytona, as in Daytona, is a new competition. 8 single people will have the chance to go on a speed date before the Daytona 500. The speed date takes place in a car during a lap around the track driven by one of the drivers of the race.
Cut the cheese and pour the wine. Yippee!
A trained race car driver will take you and one person for one lap around the track to see if there is a love connection.
We're going fast, right?
I mean, if you can find someone that'll do this with you, you might just find that person for you, yeah.
I'm all in on this. You enter online, I'm going to make Steven enter, and if we don't match up, that's it. I'm done.
Ryder,
we're out. I just want to ride in a race car.
If you go to the Busch Light site, they ask a few questions, so I'm going to ask you, Ryder, which of these activities do you enjoy the most? Hunting, fishing, hiking, or a country music show?
Country music?
Yeah.
Fishing. I'm going to go with fishing.
All right, and then only one more question. What's your favorite place to enjoy a Busch Light? Your local bar, a backyard hangout, a concert, or a live sporting event?
Oh, Busch Latte specifically?
Yeah. See?
Backyard hangout.
A little trickier than you thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
I hope one of these speed date trips around the track goes off the wall,
Can you imagine?
Just bounces off the wall and spins into the infield. That's going to be fun.
If I give you my word right now, if that happens, if a Busch Light speed date goes awry, hits the wall, spins out, has a crash, I won't even wait to hear that everyone's okay. I'm going right to the Star and getting a 6er of Busch Light. I will load up. Out. Yeah, you got to, man. That's fantastic. Busch Light, the website, if that's your kind of vibe, man, go for it.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
What happened back in the day on January 9th? I hear you asking yourself that question. Let's find out. Oh, January 9th, 1953. A freshman center playing basketball for Rio Grande, Clarence Bevo Francis. I love the nickname Bevo. Clarence Bevo Francis scored 116 points against Ashland College. This is decades before it even occurred to anybody to have a three-point line. 116 points. He had 61 points after 3 quarters and then really turned it on, scoring all 55 of his team's points in the fourth quarter. What in the hell is going on with this guy? This was a kid who, at 10 years old, had anemia and was hospitalized and had to be carried in and out of rooms. He played 1 year of high school ball under his in high school. Nobody was interested. He came in literally out of nowhere. Freshman year, suddenly he got healthy and averaged 50 points per game that year. Now, he was drafted by the Philadelphia, not the 76ers, back then the Philadelphia Warriors. But he was like, I'm going to go back and sell insurance. And that's exactly what he did. Bevo Francis still holds the record for most points scored in a college basketball game. Wow. And no one cares. I just thought I'd give Bevo a little love. I mean, come on. The guy's nickname is Bevo. I love it. Yeah. On this day in 2005, do I have to say anything beyond this? Randy Moss, Lambeau Field, Joe Buck. Oh, how great was that? In a wild card round of the playoffs, the Vikings, who were only 8-8, snuck into the playoffs. They beat the Packers 31-17, but all anybody remembers is Randy Moss scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter, crossed the end zone, and pretended to moon the Packer faithful. Joe Buck, play-by-play man for Fox, clutched his pearls and soiled himself. That's a disgusting act by Randy Moss. We can't believe we had to catch that on the air. Everybody lost their mind. What a lot of people don't know is every time the opposing team's buses enter and leave Lambeau Field, cheeseheads moon the other team.
Yes.
Like they don't pretend to moon. They drop trow and show their ass. And Randy Moss was just giving a little something back to them.
He was waving back. It was a sign of respect. Whatever happened to Joe Buck anyway? What's he doing these days?
He was, I think like Bevo Francis, is selling insurance somewhere.
There you go. Out in California, I believe, for Allstate.
He's gonna have a busy month. Of course, this led to the famous fine of $10,000 when Randy Moss was asked about it. Did you write the check, Randy? He said, when you're rich, you don't write checks. And he goes, if you don't write checks, how do you pay these guys? Randy Moss with the line of the century. Straight cash, homie. Come on. It's fantastic.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. It's the KQ Morning Show on Minnesota's Classic Rock, 92 KQRS.
It is January the 9th. And, a buddy of mine did a little time a couple years ago. Well, about 5 years ago. He went in for a couple. Some drug charges. He got himself way out over his skis. A lot of problems. He's doing great now. Years in recovery. But he went to the joint, and he'll be the first guy to tell you he made a pretty big mistake in calculating the size suitcase he could bring in with him. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you got to pack a bag when you go sometimes. And I said, what does that mean? What he was saying was, well, you want to carry in some extra contraband. You pack a bag. You pack a bag. Not a literal bag, but you, how do I say this gently? You stuff stuff up your ass and then take it into prison. You try to just smuggle things in. And my man's talking about like literally tiny little amounts of things. It's just kind of how it goes. Unlike my friend, a 43-year-old inmate in Georgia was just caught trying to smuggle multiple items in his damn near killed him. Listen to this. A gentleman, I'm not making this up, was just found. He's going through processing, and then they say, they do the thing. Hey, bend over. Let's make sure. My man had vape canisters, syringes, vape cartridges, a cigarette lighter, and batteries. By the way, plural, batteries.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Up the backside. Now, when you hear about someone say there's a lot of junk in that trunk, that's usually that usually doesn't imply like literally there's a lot of junk in that trunk.
He must have been rattling as he walked. I mean,
damn near killed him.
That's what I'm saying. Now, my man was charged initially with theft, possession of meth, and violating parole, and now you just add to that. I guess there's got to be a law against just being that level of freak, I would think.
There's not. Yeah, I was just thinking there's not much that's gone up my ass. Generally, it's exit only for me, but it's happened. A little playtime, a little fun time, and it's just so much pressure. It's so uncomfortable. How do you get used to that? I guess by just continually shoving a bunch of stuff up your butt.
I don't know if practice makes perfect, but practice does make permanent, they say. So,
Wow.
yeah, I guess so. This is just so mind-boggling, but it's not that unusual. It's not unusual at all for people going into jail trying to get away with that.
Yeah.
It's also not unusual at all for people just generally, like you said, there's playtime, there's oops, I didn't mean to do that time. Any ER nurse will tell you, oh my God, the things I've seen that people come in with. And in fact, as long as I'm mentioning it, if an ER nurse wants to share any stories with us, feel free. 651-989-ROCK is the KQ Talk and Text line. If you want to call in and tell us a story, feel free. If you want to keep it on the down low and text us, you can do that too. Every year, Defector website coagulates. What's the word? They corroborates. No, what's the word? They get together a list of all the things from medical reports of things that were removed from our damn near killdoms in ERs across America. There's an entire list of things. And by the way, batteries every year, but this year's list includes one D battery. That's a big battery.
Like getting greedy.
2 AA's and 3 AAA's. Not all in the same case. Not one guy, but I'm saying somebody walked in with 3 AAA batteries. That's enough for a remote and a half.
Yeah, I'd have to check the instruction label on myself. I'm not sure what batteries I take or how many. I was thinking the occasional finger with lovemaking. Women like to every once in a while for some reason, or they think we like it. But this is way a broomstick. All right. A foam ball? A foam ball? Can you? All right.
A foam ball? Was that like a Nerf ball, maybe?
Maybe. I don't. I think my favorite has to be here, the xylophone mallet.
Wow.
Hey, I'm playing my xylophone today, Bill, and I don't know, there's a bit of an odor around it. You weren't using my mallet, were you?
Speaking of that, a can of deodorant. That's not how that works.
No, that's not gonna. I get it.
That's not what that deodorant's for, and you're not supposed to. You don't set a timer and shove it up there. That's just not how that works.
This one I don't understand. A patient believes she has either she has a vibrator in either her rectum or vagina. I don't have a vagina, but I'm thinking
you should be able to tell the difference.
All right, thank you.
Easily.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryder. I didn't want to have to ask.
You need to get in touch with yourself, lady.
It sounds like she was in touch with herself. She just didn't know how much of herself there was. How about this one? A patient reported ankle, abdominal, and neck pain after jumping off a second-floor balcony with a foreign body in rectum. Well,
the big fall. That's what they always... when we get nurses that call in from emergency rooms, that's a big one. They always say, because no one ever just admits it. Hey, I was just trying to have a little fun. I was curious and, like you like to say, got out over my skis. Yeah. But they always have some... And a big one is I fell on it. I've fallen a lot. I fall all the time, but I've never ended up with anything in my butt.
To that point, patient states he slipped and fell in bathtub, landing on baby shark toy.
You shoved the baby shark toy. That means you have a child that has a toy, and you used it for...
Why do I immediately imagine that's a hammerhead shark toy?
Oh, well, it's got a fin on it. That sounds uncomfortable. I like the wire hanger. What are you doing with a wire? Did you get your car keys stuck up there? You know how you sometimes try to fish your car keys out?
No.
A wire hanger?
Patient reports, I just got married presents with a sex toy stuck inside his rectum. Okay. I mean, whoever gave him that gift, at least he put it to good use. He didn't ignore it. Wow. Marbles I get, because I've dealt with a marble, but it was an honest mistake. It was the young lad, our son, swallowed one.
Oh, right.
It came out, but it just had to come out the natural way. We were all freaking out. Yeah. The doctor was like, just check his diaper for the next couple of days. It'll come right through, and it sure did.
I had a buddy, Ava, the pit bull, is no longer with us, but she ate a bunch of marbles, and they came out quite naturally. I wouldn't think you'd have to run off to the emergency room for marbles. You panicked on that one.
Yeah.
You just need, some, I don't know, Coors Light to get that moving.
That's a first kid thing. If it had been Marley, we would have been like, yeah, have another one. Go ahead. Totally fine.
That's
Not going to be a problem. Board game piece. Yeah, of course. But
right.
this is the one that freaks me out. Light bulb. Come on now. I don't
Light
care how.
bulb?
I don't know. I don't care
You're
how
asking
much.
for it.
Yeah. What if it breaks?
You're asking for it is exactly right. I don't care how much muscle control you think you have. You don't go with a light bulb, man.
No. That's on the edge right there. Although Jell-O mold.
Okay.
Mold?
A Jell-O mold.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, to your point, Zep. I've fallen many times in my life too.
Yeah.
There's two things I can safely rely on. If I fall into a body of water, or if I just fall generally, I clench up. Like the door closes.
Yep.
That's just how that works.
Oh man.
I'm all for. Listen, I'm all for having fun, but we just have different definitions of fun, I guess. A 50-cent piece. Who takes a good, honest to God Kennedy $50 and says, somebody would say that's paying perfect tribute to JFK. He did have there was a lot of side action going on there, but to me that's seems that's a bit much. Leave the 50-cent piece on the counter where it belongs.
The old Kennedy slot machine there.
Yeah.
Pull my arm.
That's exactly it. Cooking spray. Come on. Yeah, you know what? At the end of it, though, I do think you were right. Xylophone mallet's my favorite. You know what I mean?
I just can't figure out which end to use.
I
would think it's the mallet side because otherwise you could just do any number of things. I'm never going to hear Moonlight Feels Right the same way again. Every time that xylophone solo hits, I'm just going to be thinking about do you know where that mallet's been?
Help me out here. What's a bottle of GHB? GHB. What is that? I don't know. I'd have to Google that, I guess. I don't know. A bottle of GHB?
GHB.
Just a bottle.
Well,
Just a
GHB
bottle
is
of meds, it looks like.
Yeah, med. That's like an antidepressant, I believe, or something along those lines. I mean, like
suppository.
I was going to say, is that like somebody says here's a suppository, and they think it's the whole bottle as opposed to one particular thing? What in the world?
We're all wondering why, but they actually put it in this one, a 12-inch ratchet extender, which sounds fairly mild. They're thin. They're 12 inches long, but they got it lost up there. You got all 12 inches in there, and then behind it just says doesn't know why. That's my favorite excuse ever. So you've got the 12. We got the 12-inch ratchet extender out of your ass. Now what happened? I don't know. I don't know. Have no idea.
I'm going to do a solid here for all of our male listeners, and I'm not going to open the link that says here's the things that men got stuck in their penises this year. Not even going to go there.
Oh, right, because they have that. Yeah. If you want to get on defector.com, it's and click around on there and have a little fun with that. But yeah, I don't. All right, I just one rolled up magazine page. How do you get a rolled up magazine page in your? All right. I'm sorry. You're right. You're right.
That's a pain that no one ever needs to experience. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, speaking of things that that we're all sticking into our bodies. Hey, want to say good morning to Oak Grove.
I'm sure they love that segue.
I know. No, that's not the town slogan. I'm sorry, I had that totally backwards. No, Oak Grove, Minnesota, beautiful part of the world. Happy to have you with us this morning. And by the way, I do want to mention the 2025 Tee It Up golf card presented by Club Champion goes on sale tomorrow. Golf 6 area courses and save nearly $200. Text the keyword golf to 651-989-ROCK. 989-ROCK for more info. I'm excited about this golf season, but I'm going to tell you something straight up, man. I got a shoulder happening. I got a shoulder thing going on.
Maybe you need a GHB.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was just normal wear and tear, but something's gone awry. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, that thing's weird. Sometimes I got to pop it to, I think I got to get this looked at. So I'm already offering excuses for my poor play on the golf courses this spring.
Starting already in January. That's and by the way, when I say GHB, my buddy firefighter Lance, thank you. I assume you know this, Lance, professionally, but that is a roofie.
Oh, boy.
That makes more sense. Yeah, that should be out of the bottle.
Yeah, I knew I'd heard of it. Yeah, no, that's not an antidepressant at all. That's an anti-awake alertness. That's an anti-everything. Yeah. Good to know. Thank you for that. Hey, our friends to the north, very, very friendly folks. The Canadians, lovely people. Sometimes, though, they're a little too, I think they're a little too willing to help out, and therefore they assume so would be, I guess, I don't know, emergency services. Some 911 calls from Canada that missed the mark. You're not going to believe these. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
Steely Dan reeling in the years, or as the Gorman family has referred to it since about 2006, the Wendy's song.
Oh, is that the one? Was that part of the whole Wendy's thing for a while?
It was for us. We were at a Wendy's once. Connell was probably 2006, and it was playing. It was on, and I was like, "Yeah, don't usually hear Steely Dan at Wendy's." Rosemary and I mentioned it, and he goes, "What is this song?" And I said, "It's a band called Steely Dan." And it just charmed him. He was like, "This is really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, it is really cool." And then we talked a little bit about Steely Dan. He'd never heard of them. Again, he's like 6 years old. Yeah. Probably 6 months, maybe 8 months pass. And we get in the car. I turn on the radio, and that song's on. And in 1 second, Colin goes, "Hey, the Wendy's song." And I was like, "Oh, okay. A, first of all, he knows it right away. B, he remembers having heard it before. C, remembers that's the Wendy's song. And then now we all call it the Wendy's song." That's just how that works.
I wonder what Donald Fagen would have to say about that.
He'd say, "Shut your beep, beep, beep mouth." Fagen, famously grumpy when people talk about Steely Dan. Yeah. But I mean, he's got every right to do that. You write all those records, you produce all those records, you get all those musicians to play like that. You can be as grumpy as you want, man. I'm cool with it. Sure. Our friends to the north are anything but grumpy. Canadians, just a nice, across the board, generally speaking, very nice sort of folk.
Sorry. Let me get that for you. I mean, we've got a bit of that here in Minnesota, don't we? Actually, a whole lot of it. Yeah. But we know how to be mean. We know how to cook up some crime. We've got an edge to us. We're Americans. I listen to American Woman, for crying out loud, the Guess Who. They're terrified of this place when they dip down below the border. So, I was thinking as we get in this list, I was in Calgary a couple of summers ago, and I turned on the nightly news. Had a night in the hotel before I headed out into Banff. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching it thinking to myself, this is almost adorable, this news. It's a lot of the stuff we're about to get into. And then finally, toward the end of the news, and there's been a murder. 3 people have been shot. I went, finally, some crime in Calgary. In Detroit, United States. I'm like, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. You gotta, all right, gotcha.
Yeah, I remember. There's a lot of great over the last couple of decades. A lot of NBA players from Canada, more than ever before. Anyway, I mean, there's a good solid dozen, including some of the better players in the world. And I remember seeing a story about a kid. And it was describing him growing up on the mean streets of Toronto. And nothing to take away. There are, I'm sure, very difficult neighborhoods in a city that size. Yeah. It's an international city. It's one of North America's great cities. Of course, you're going to have tougher neighborhoods than others. But they were discussing the coming up from the streets angle. And the clips they showed of his school he went to and of the house he was raised in and just the general vibe, I was like, guys, you got to dress this up a little bit. It just looked like the nicest, most milquetoast suburban area you've ever seen. And he was like, yeah, it was real difficult. There were times when, my dad would be late from work. The buses would be running late. And he'd get in, and I'd be like, wait, what? Anyway, no, it's a beautiful, beautiful bunch of people. But Canadians do sometimes against their what you would expect. They do overreact, and they will call 911 for reasons you might not expect. Saskatchewan, Canada, police have released a list of their top 10 reasons not to call 911, including these are incidents from 2024. People will call 911 in Canada for the reasons you actually, the more you think about it, might sort of expect. Here's a sampling.
Number 5, an individual called 911 to report that somebody had thrown their ice cream on the ground.
No. Listen, somebody worked really hard to make that ice cream. They milked the cow, and then they did the process there, and that ice cream, somebody would want that ice cream, and I don't think you should throw it on the ground.
Not to mention, Steve, you made a mess there, right there on the sidewalk. People got to walk around that. They got to step over it. I'll just clean it up for you. Sorry.
Unbelievable.
Sorry somebody did that. Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Number 4, the caller advised that their cat was being mean to them.
Canadian cat?
How do you know if a cat's being mean? It's just being a cat.
Yeah, exactly.
I was laying there on the sofa and had the Trailer Park Boys on, and the cat came up and he looked at me, and I put my hand out and he didn't let me scratch him.
They did send a Mountie over to shoot that cat, however. I thought that was a nice touch. Yeah.
Sure.
Just blasted it.
All right. What else?
Number 3, 911 dispatchers received a call for a person having trouble with their washing machine.
Well, I mean, if having trouble with it is I accidentally shoved my kid in there and it's on, okay, call 911. I can't get the darn thing. I don't think it's spinning quite as fast as it was when I brought it home from the store.
You know, I'm just thinking of our last segment, things people shoved up their butts in American emergency rooms. I bet that never happens in Canada. I bet no one shoves anything up there. No, we don't. We're not even curious. Exit only.
I might have something shoved up my backside, my 6. I think it's one extra sheet of 2-ply. Unless I got my count wrong, I'm missing a sheet of 2-ply. Could you look in there for me? All right, what else we got?
Number 2, an individual called 911 asking for help on a math equation as they didn't want to fail their test in the morning.
Okay, now that checks out. I mean, math to me has never been my buddy. I can totally see that. There was, that was a story recently. There was a story a few months ago. A kid in Wisconsin had the exact same thing. A 10-year-old, and Wisconsin's. It's kind of like if it's hard to believe, it's a much drunker Canada. But I mean, it's close. Yeah. It's like Minnesota. It's close enough. A 10-year-old in Wisconsin also called 911 looking for some math homework assistance a few months ago. The dispatcher, if I remember correctly, did find a deputy who's pretty good at math and sent him to the kid's house.
Yeah, we have the call.
He said, ma'am, I know I'm not supposed to call 911 for this, but I really could use some help with my homework. I asked, well, what can I help you with? And he's like, it's math. And I'm like, oh, I've been out of school for over 40 years. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know if I can help you with this, but we'll find somebody.
Yeah, I too have been out of school for 40 years, and when I was there, it didn't matter. It didn't bounce. It did not connect. Math and me, it's like the spaceship that bounces off the edge of the galaxy. No re-entry possible. It's not going to go past the line. It does not stick. All right, what's our last reason not to call 911 in Saskatchewan?
And the number 1 call, 911 dispatchers received a call from an individual reporting that their tambourine was taken from a party they were at.
Wow.
No, hey, you're damn right it was, as well as it should have been. You walk into a party with a tambourine, I'm taking that thing away from you.
Yeah, exactly. No tambourines at the party.
Listen, man, hand percussion across the board is never welcome unless you literally know how to use it. You have to, if you, like our friend Ryder, always knows where the 1 is, then bring it along. But otherwise, you're just going to mess up everybody's good time.
Oh, man. God bless them. It's just adorable up there.
You can get into so much trouble with one tambourine. I'm telling you, man. And by the way, for the people who bring tambourines to concerts, you're the devil.
Oh, that's right. You guys had that happen at a Black Crowes show.
A bunch of them in Detroit. No. One woman, always in Michigan. She'd show up, and you think the band on stage can't hear one tambourine from the theater? You're wrong. Those things cut through. And every time there's a quiet moment in a song and you bring it down the mood, and the person who brings the tambourine anywhere in public never knows how to keep time. That's the other thing you have to understand. It's like the guys at the park with the drum circle. That's where they go play drums. That's all they can do. They can all everybody just pounds on stuff together, and eventually, it sounds like a rhythm maybe. One person at a gig with a tambourine in the crowd, I guarantee you she smells like either sage or sage cigarettes or clove cigarettes, I should say. There's something going on there, and she never keeps in time. And I say she because that's always been my experience. The tambourine at the party, it's an immediate, give me that. Who do you think you are? Drives me crazy. I had one incident. I had in Saskatchewan, Canada. Speaking of police in Saskatchewan, the one time I almost got in trouble in Saskatchewan, it wasn't with a cop, but it was just with a hotel security guard. And we had a night off up there, blisteringly cold night, late 1990 probably. And we, on the night off, just out in like a Holiday Inn parking lot, we go sit on the bus because that's what you do, because you can smoke things on your own bus that you can't smoke in a Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
And then it was the first time I ever ingested mushrooms.
Oh.
My first mushroom trip. And boy, just having a great time. And then at some point, like in a blink of an eye, suddenly I'm like, okay, I have to get away from everyone. I need some Steve time. I just need it quiet and the lights a little dim. And I thought, I'm going to go back to my room now and just kind of regroup. I just had to, I was getting a little thick. I was getting a little deep in, and I was like, I gotta bounce. And I walked into the lobby of the hotel, walking on my way to my room, and the entire walk, as you do, you're like, nobody knows. I'm acting totally normal. There's no way any of the people at the front desk will know that I'm on drugs. And walk into the lobby, and I see my bass player standing there, who about 5 minutes before me had the same thing. I got to get out of here. I didn't even realize he had bounced. So I walk up to him. I'm like, hey, man. And he says, hey, man. And we look at each other with the whole only we know face, right? None of these people know. And we're waiting by the elevator, and then up walks the Dudley Do-Right local security guard at the hotel. He's like, how you boys doing? And we both spun around, and it was like, what if he knows? And we're reading each other's minds the way you do, like that. And the guy started just asking us questions. And I'm looking back now, and of course, he's probably 23. He's like, so you guys in a band? Are you guys out there on that bus? What's your band called? Oh, cool. Have you ever been to Canada? Just chatting us up. And in my mind, it's a master detective trying to crack us in the interrogation room. I'm standing in a well-lit lobby at the elevator, but in my mind, I'm in that room with the two-way mirror and the video cameras are rolling, and I'm handcuffed to one hand is cuffed to the table, and I'm just staring at him. And then Johnny's handling it better, my bassist. He's talking to the guy. And then the security guard, he has a cup of ice, and he puts a big mouthful in, and he's chewing his ice. And it sounded like the guns of Navarone to my tripping brain. Yeah. And then he kind of looked at me, and the guy goes, are you okay? Because I must have had a look on my face. And I said very loudly, listen to that ice. And then immediately, now everybody knows.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta go. And I hit the button. The elevator door opens. The elevator door closes, me and Johnny. And then we were laughing so hard we could barely stand when it went up all of one flight to the second floor.
One flight up.
Yeah, that was it. Like, man, that's I wouldn't have been surprised if he had called 911 that night. Yeah, he's got an incident. There's a guy in the lobby, and he's terrified of ice.
Canada's not a good place to be if you're terrified of ice.
Man. Hey, we talked about the other day the fact that those blackout license plates sold like hotcakes. More than the how cool it is to have a black license plate. The personalized plates, that's when you're really stepping out and making something happen. But they're not all acceptable. We've got quite a list of rejected personalized plates coming up. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. It's the KQ Morning Show on Minnesota's Classic Rock, 92 KQRS.
We mentioned this the other day. The Minnesota blackout plates were a screaming success. A lot of people going for that black plate. There are, let's see, at the end of the year, 256,000 vehicles on the road sporting those blackout plates. By far the most popular of the 123 specialty tags that Minnesota offers. I don't have the blackout plate yet. I will eventually, just because every time I see them, I'm jealous, and then I go, get over it. I'll stick to my guns with the old school. But they really do look cool. I mean, yesterday,
depending on the car. I saw it on like a mid-90s rusted out Toyota Tacoma, and I'm like, dude, why bother with the $30, man? Like, that's not helping.
That's the only vehicle I'd put it on. Let's be honest. It's not. It was cool, and now it's uncool.
Well,
that's like that barbed wire tattoo around your bicep. It was there for a minute, and then it got too popular. This is Minnesota, the land of, that's everybody's doing it, then it's not cool. I mean, that's where I learned this behavior.
Well, I think I just want to have it on there so that every time I go to Wisconsin, then I feel cool again. Like, yeah, in your face, Wisconsin. You wish you had one of these. Yeah. You know, I mean, Iowa's got them. They had them first, in fact. But as far as I know, you don't have that going on in Wisconsin. Maybe they do. Maybe someone's like, what's the matter with him? But I haven't seen a blacked out Wisconsin plate. Or maybe I did, and I just denied it existence because of my jealousy. But
I think those are whiskey plates in Wisconsin. If it's blacked out.
That makes perfect sense.
I made that up.
It sounded good to me.
Yeah, same thing. So if you're not going to get the blackout plate, do you go to the next step? When will they offer the blackout vanity plate? Where not only do you get the black plate, but you get to put what you want on there. Because right now, the blackout plates all start with the letter Z. Three letters followed by 3 numbers. They're already going to have to reverse that. The next batch is going to be numbers then letters because everybody wants them so much. But what if you could get the blackout plate and personalize that? That's when you're cashing in, because personalized plates are still all the rage. People are still buying them all the time. I've never had one. I was getting a license plate for a car once. This is going back to the 90s, and the guy said, "Do you want to personalize it?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Really? Nothing?" And I thought, well, what would I go with if I did? For the first time ever, I'm literally at the DMV going, well, maybe. Hang on a minute. This was at a time when I was wanting to spend recklessly and stupidly on spur-of-the-moment decisions. And I thought, can you put Castor on there? Castor. I remember saying that. And he goes, like the oil? I go, well, it's French for beaver, actually. that was my French. I mean, my French. My nickname, my family name has always been Beaver. So Le Castor. And I thought, Castor. And then, but then I realized, no, people would think it's castor, like castor oil, and it's not. Yeah. And then I just forgot the whole thing. I'm not going back. But
I mean, it's tough to make them work. There are some good ones out there. I saw a Minnesota plate one time that just said blood. I mean, it was spelled out BLOOD, and I went, that's freaking cool, dude.
That is cool. I've already got a text. My mom has vanity blackout plates. All right, there you have it. Well, your mom's cooler than I am. Make no mistake about that.
Haktua, did she get that one?
Another one. Okay, all right. See, this is good to know. They're all on. I'm getting another text. We've got them, blackout vanities. Now I'm back on the blackout Castor tip. Maybe I'll go that way.
All right. Well, I actually stole that line from the Illinois Department of Illinois. Did I throw an S on there? Illinois Department. It is the Illinois. It drives them crazy, which I love. You don't pronounce the S, but there's an S on Illinois Department of Transportation. Talking about some of the plates they did not allow for vanity this past year.
Jagweed, Axhole. See what you did there.
Axhole. I like that one.
Like that, Get. Gyett.
Really?
Get.
Which I had to Google.
I Googled it as well. Get. Damn, that's a nice ass. I guess that's a slang.
Okay.
Maybe on the south side.
Munch. Which I'm told means more than a sound.
Here's my favorite one.
Duck off. Maybe they were using autocorrect.
Yeah, duck off. They went with duck off.
That's great.
Listen to this one. These are with D's, by the way.
Shitted. Did you really think we wouldn't catch that?
Shitted.
And new to this list this year, and surprising no one, Haktua.
Yeah, Haktua.
There it is. Wow.
Yeah. You gotta spit on that license plate.
But then you got. I mean, I get the idea. I get that it's funny at the moment, but then you're the guy driving around with that plate every day. Or or gal. Then it's like everywhere you go, everyone's looking to see who you are. Come on.
Yeah. P before you go. That one did sneak through once. That got one of these lists we did one time. P before you go. P before you go. Yeah, they're they're sleeping at the desk. Like most people when we work. We have those moments we just. We're just sort of sleepwalking through the day, so they got P before you go through. If someone wanted something random like that, I'd have to sound it out. But yeah, that wasn't bad.
George texted in, my plate is ITDDY. Think of the movie A Christmas Story at the flagpole. Oh, I triple dog dare you. Okay.
Oh, all right. That's not bad.
That works.
No one's going to get that driving around. You got to put the bumper sticker on then with... but
just that reminds me. If I might see if I can get the blackout plate with just one word on there: moist. Moist is always one of those words that certain people recoil at the sight of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Moist. That'd be pretty good. There's a bunch on the bunch on the Facebook page. I see. It's funny. I have to say them quietly. I'm like, wait, what am I saying here? I don't want to. 68OU 68OU1 68OU.
Nice.
I like on the white newer Ford Bronco, not OJ. OJ, that's pretty strong. So this is on the Facebook post. Someone sent this one in. This is just a photo of a car from Maine. HV2 poop. Have to poop. Wow. That's a commitment to a bit right there.
Get out of their way.
Yeah, no kidding. Jeez.
Man.
What you got?
CKN Butt. CKNBUTT.
Oh, come on.
It's harsh.
Yeah,
that's a
harsh.
Texas plate. That's a Texas plate. That's a plate that snuck through.
You know, I was always a big basketball fan my whole life. Loved the NBA. I'm not a Bulls fan, but in the 90s, all respect, I'd watch the Bulls every time they were on. It was the best team going.
Yeah.
And it was a great time for basketball. I read a big article on Scottie Pippen, and it turned me off of him entirely. The article didn't, but the photo in the article did. It was in Sports Illustrated, and it was a picture of him in his driveway with his several cars. He had like 3 really expensive cars, and he had a Ferrari that he would drive around Chicago in, and the license plate was DAPIP, DePip. Like,
DePip.
Hey, DePip. The Bears, and I'm DePip. And I was like, dude, you're Scottie Pippen. You're 6'9". You don't look like anybody else on planet Earth. You're in a Ferrari. No one's wondering, is that really him? Oh, wait, he's got the license plate. That's Pippen. And I was like, there's something wrong with that. I'm sorry. And Michael Jordan may very well have also had vanity plates, but something tells me he didn't bother with it. He didn't need it.
He didn't need it. Rejected. There you go. That's your basketball one. Go with Rejected. That one's from New York. How about Cheech and Chong? MUFDVR.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could slide those past certain places. I guarantee you. There are certain states that they're the person responsible, and I'm thinking of where I grew up in Kentucky. You could get anything past someone in Kentucky. Make no mistake about it. All you got to do is smile and say "ma'am" a lot, and they're going to let you put. You can put anything you want on there. It's just that simple. It is time for some playoff football, ladies and gentlemen. The Vikings going out west, somewhere out west, for a game Monday night. Let's get Sam Ekstrom on the horn to discuss. Sam's covered the Vikings since 2014, host and executive producer with the Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcast Network, providing daily Vikings analysis on YouTube and your preferred podcast feeds. Sam, good morning, brother.
Good morning. Happy New Year to you. Good to be back.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. It feels like it's been forever since we last spoke. Before we look ahead, let's go back to that Lions game. Sam, with a few days hindsight, it's less of a concern to me. That's the biggest home game the Detroit Lions have had in my lifetime. For all intents and purposes, it was a playoff game. Sam Darnold has never started a game with anywhere near that level of stakes. And the list of quarterbacks who have really been great in their first ever playoff game is pretty short. So my question is, am I kidding myself to feel good about the Vikings going forward? Or was that the canary in the coal mine we've been dreading all season?
Man, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth for sure. I mean, I think people had grand visions of home NFC championship game. You know, the Super Bowl path was going to be so much easier, and now it's staring at you with 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl, and it seems a lot more difficult. But we've seen Sam Darnold win big games all year. I mean, it's not like he can't take the pressure. I think that's got to be solace that you find. He beat Green Bay at home. He beat, the Seahawks in a really tough environment. He played well in the first game against Detroit this year. So we've seen him perform. We've seen him bounce back from his bad games as well. So I think that's maybe the part where you can rest a little easier. It's just the path to get to the Super Bowl is now so much more difficult.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue with what took place, is that you had a chance to be in that game. I mean, you lost by 22, but it was a 1-point game in the third quarter when you had bungled 4 chances in the red zone. You should have been ahead by double digits at that point. That's why it's most disappointing to me.
Let me ask you this. Do you, Sam, do you blame KOC for any of that red zone failure? He seemed to just go away from the run game entirely at those moments, and you got Aaron Jones and Akers, for that matter, sitting right there ready to blast the ball in.
That I'm torn on that because there are a handful of plays where there were receivers open. The concept was good. Mm-hmm. Jordan Addison was wide open going to the corner on one of those fourth downs. It should have been a touchdown. On the second fourth down, Jalen Naylor was cutting open over the middle of the field. Sam Darnold missed both of them, didn't even throw the ball. I mean, Sam Darnold had some serious hesitance throwing the football on time in that game. He was in his head. I don't know if he was thrown off by the blitzes, the coverage, something schematically, or maybe it was just a mind block. Something got in his head in that game or he was unable to pull the trigger. I thought the plays were there in several cases. Now, could you mix in a run or two more? Yes, but I also looked up a stat, Steve. The Vikings have the worst red zone rushing average in the KOC era in the NFL. The worst. Bottom of the NFL. Okay. So there's enough on tape to say we're not good at this. Mm-hmm. Maybe we shouldn't even try it. I think that's probably a little bit what's at play here.
Hey, Sam, I heard Dan Campbell after the game and Coach O'Connell meet in the middle of the field, and he said, see you in a couple of weeks. I think they do go out and get it done against the Rams. We'll see if Sam Darnold is back in his head when he gets back to Ford Stadium, if that happens. Let's talk about the Vikings defense. They've had at least 24 points put up against them in the last 3 games, making everything close, or there was that loss to the Lions. How's the D looking here as we come into the playoffs? Because they're going to need that defense that we fell in love with in the first 2/3 of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think we've come to realize that this defense is not the 85 Bears. It's not the 2000 Ravens. They have their flaws, particularly in pass defense, and they make up for it by taking the ball away. They intercepted Jared Goff 2 times, which has only been done a handful of times all year to pick off Jared Goff more than once. So that's the perk. But then the negative is that they are a little bit loose in coverage. They play a lot of zones. And if other teams can find the soft spots in those zones, much like the Rams did, back in L.A. in Week 8, you can beat this defense. If you are a serious offense with a serious quarterback and a serious running game, the Vikings have not been particularly sharp in those games. So I think there's going to have to be some kind of adjustment against Matthew Stafford than what we saw, back in October when they gave up 30 points and Matthew Stafford passed the ball all over them and Puka Nacua had his way. There's going to have to be some adjustment there. I don't know if it's man coverage. I don't know if it's more blitz, less blitz. That's a Brian Flores decision, but they're going to have to do something a little bit different because the coverage has not been as sharp as you'd like against some of these better offenses.
Sam Ekstrom's with us on the KQ Morning Show. Speaking of that defense, for no reason other than I just want to, got to give a shout-out to Harrison Smith. 13th year, he started all 17 games. Yeah. His entire career with this team, a defensive back well into his 30s playing at this level. I mean, where does this guy rank all-time great Vikings defenders when it's all said and done? He's got to be, he's on the list for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've certainly got the Purple People Eaters on the defensive line, and they're probably your most hallowed, defensive veterans. And then in the secondary, it's a little scarcer to have stars like that. You had Paul Krause back in the day. Paul Krause and Harrison Smith both have, an astounding number of interceptions. Harrison Smith, considering he's played this long for the same team, his legacy is going to be incredible. And I assume he's going to be a Hall of Fame run on his first ballot. I would hope so with his resume. And I don't know when he's going to be done. He keeps going out and performing and making plays. He plays smart. He plays physically. I don't think we've seen a meaningful decline from Harrison Smith. And it makes you wonder, can he keep doing this? Can he keep coming back? Or will he go out while he still is playing at this level? It's really cool to see, and it is good to see him get an interception there against Jared Goff.
Sam, let's look ahead. The Rams Monday night. The Rams, certainly earned their spot. They're in a not the greatest division in the league, but they did what they had to do. But ever since we last saw them, when they handed us a loss, they've hardly been dominant. They haven't even, in times, but they've been darn right unimpressive. They have that big win over the Bills, and then at the same time, they're barely beating some teams you would think they would blow out. Where do you see the Rams right now? They're healthier than they were earlier in the season, but is this a team that truly scares you on any level, or is it just, we'll just have to see what happens?
I think they only scare you based on reputation, because you're going up against Super Bowl winning coach Sean McVay, Super Bowl winning quarterback Matthew Stafford, and then two receivers that can get the job done. Puka Nacua, who I think is their best receiver now, and Cooper Kupp, who's a pretty nice right-hand man. He's won the receiving title before, won the Triple Crown actually 3 years ago. But the Rams are in a major funk offensively. After they scored those 44 in the Buffalo game, they have 2 touchdowns in the games that Stafford started. I'm not counting the Week 18 Jimmy Garoppolo play the backup game. That doesn't really count in my mind. Matthew Stafford has produced like 19 points, 12 points, and 16 points in his last 3 games. The oddity is that he's getting protected super well, and he still can't produce. He has not been sacked, you guys, in his last 4 games. That goes back to December 1st.
Wow.
They're protecting him so well, but he's not getting the ball downfield whatsoever. So I think that if they face those Rams, they're going to win the game. But you kind of assume that come playoff time, McVay, Stafford, they're going to make the necessary adjustment and give you their best game just because of who they are. It's what they've done in the past.
Sam Ekstrom with us on the KQ Morning Show. All right, Daniel Jones is on the playoff roster. The New York Giants failed quarterback. I suggested the other day, if we actually have to go to him in a playoff game and he pulls out a win, go ahead and commission the KOC statue at the State House. Do you think Daniel Jones is a viable reclamation project? Because if he's going to be, he certainly found a great place to think there's a chance. What do you look at what do you see when you look at Daniel Jones?
Yeah, I think that the Vikings have become quarterback rehab. That's kind of what they've turned into, with KOC making Josh Dobbs look like a good quarterback, and now Sam Darnold, and Daniel Jones is a perfect candidate for the KOC education, because he had a terrible roster in New York. I don't know if he had great support in that coaching staff. I think, one good year earned him $160 million. I don't know if you can just assume that you'll get a Sam Darnold type of year out of any quarterback that comes through. I think that his resume, as bad as Sam Darnold's was, Daniel Jones is kind of right there with him.
Yeah.
In terms of 5-6 pretty miserable years as an NFL quarterback. So I think it might be a little pompous to say that Daniel Jones can just come in and have the same success as Sam Darnold. It takes a very special situation to duplicate that. But he's got a little mobility. He's got a little arm strength. If he had to come into a playoff game, could he tread water for a couple quarters? Yeah, I think so. Would I want to give him the full 17 games next year, as some people have suggested? I'm not sure I'm on board with that.
Whoa. Well, while we're talking a little folly here, I didn't even know you could trade a head coach in the NFL, but apparently you can. And, of course, it got a little traction on social media this week. I don't know if there's any truth to it, that Coach O'Connell the Vikings have been approached about trading for Coach O'Connell. What do you hear about this?
Yeah, this is a pretty clear tactic by the representation of Kevin O'Connell, planting something in the media to drum up, I think, some urgency to get a contract done. With his success, he's obviously going to sign for top dollar with the Minnesota Vikings organization. I think they want to ensure that he's one of the most handsomely paid head coaches around the league. And maybe this gets a couple extra dollars on that contract by making it seem like he could, go out the door if a team placed a sweet offer on the table. But this is a ridiculous story. This is not happening. A coach of his caliber and stature and status and popularity has never, in my memory, been traded in the NFL, especially not with this ownership. The ownership that pays whatever they have to pay. They're generous. They want to keep him in the building. This is not the Raiders. This is not some dysfunctional organization. So it's a ridiculous non-story. It's kind of funny. And I think there's a pretty clear motivation behind it.
Sam Darnold with us. All right, it's go time, baby. Monday night. How do you see this one shaking out?
First we got to see where the game's being played. Yep. Devastating stuff happening in L.A. right now with these fires. They may move the game to Arizona, but either way, there's going to be a pretty strong Vikings contingent there, I think. My people in L.A. tell me that when the Vikings played there in Week 8, it was like 50-50 Vikings fans, and I think they're going to be well supported. I agree with your opinion. I think they bounce back. I think that people kind of jumped off the bandwagon after the Detroit game, but I think they'll restore order, get at least one playoff win, get KOC his first playoff win, and then we'll see how the chips fall for that second game. Is it Philadelphia? Is it Detroit? But I'm going to go Vikings 27-21.
I like it. Sam, always a pleasure, brother. Look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks.
Next week.
See ya. Boy, that would be nice. 27-21. I could live with that. Like he just said, they go get a big win on the road. It'll feel great. But then you have to prepare for probably either Philly or Detroit on the road again.
Right.
Man, that Lions game. Talk about the one that got away. That's gonna haunt those guys. Even if they go get a win, let's say they go win it, they'll be like, why did we have to do it the hard way? But sometimes I heard Drew Brees was interviewed yesterday. And he was asked about how did you bounce back, and he said, actually, my best games always came right after my worst games. And then I went, yeah, but Sam Darnold's not Drew Brees. Okay, so anyway.
Exactly. I mean, it's tough to beat a good team 2 or 3 times, in this case, in the NFL, if it were to go back to the Lions. Tough to beat them that many times when they're a really good team, but Darnold still has this looking over our shoulder kind of thing when he gets the pressure, so we don't know. By the way, head coach is being traded. I knew they moved from one team to the other. I didn't realize that was officially a trade, and if you're head coach, say O'Connell went to the Bears, just for example, the Bears would be required to give the Vikings picks based on his contract. Last time it happened was Sean Payton in 2023, in 19 with Bruce Arians going to the Cardinals, in 2006 Herm Edwards, Kansas City, and then Belichick, it happened to him. Mike Holmgren when he went to the Seahawks from the Green Bay Packers. So it's happened, but they don't really wrap it in a trade, although all of those teams that the coach moved from received first, second, third, and fourth round picks.
The greatest trade in professional sports history, in my opinion, was always Winona, Minnesota's very own Fritz Peterson, who in 1973, while playing for the New York Yankees, traded wives and families with teammate Mike Kekich. I'm not kidding. 2 members of the New York Yankees. I don't know how you even begin. I get how you end the conversation. I don't know how you open it. Hey, I like your wife and your kids more than my wife and my kids. And your teammate goes, yeah, me too. And they swapped families. True story.
Beautiful.
Wow. So it's funny. Sometimes you look back and go, wow, we really were way more adult in the 70s. It's the last thing you'd ever expect to come away from thinking back to that decade. All right, your top 5 at 9's coming up. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. It's the KQ Morning Show on Minnesota's Classic Rock, 92 KQRS.
January the 9th, if you're just getting up, you win. Wow. My God, if you have a 9 a.m. alarm, that's what I call the salad days. I remember those days very well. And you know what? Honestly, that might be my greatest skill, waking up late. I was great at it.
Oh, my God. I would wake up late and then roll over and take a nap almost immediately.
Yeah.
I called it the afternoon show on KQ. Oh, those were the years.
Man, let me tell you, I had an apartment in when I was a student back in the day in the attic of an old house. It was just a converted attic. But there was no window. There wasn't a skylight cut in. It was as pitch black as any room has ever been. And as a kid, I could go in there sober as a judge lay down at midnight and sleep till noon. No questions asked. Not a drop of alcohol in my bloodstream, and I would go for 11 to 12 hours easily. It was great.
And I probably woke up in the same position you fell asleep in.
Oh yeah. Wouldn't even barely breathed for 12 hours. It was as close to a human hibernation, I think, as you could possibly get.
Oh, I can only daydream about such a feat.
Just a gorgeous time of life, man. We've all had them. Way in the rear view now, but as long as we're all here, now that we're all awake at 9 a.m., you bunch of slackers, let's get you up to date on what's happening. Up to date on your top 5 at 9. Here we go. Number 5, if you haven't noticed, it is the future. We are living in the future, and I don't mean like just a time when you can watch global soccer live anywhere from any country. I don't mean when any song you ever want to hear, you just hit a button on your phone and it plays. I'm talking about this, baby. Flying taxis. That's right. Flying taxis are going to hit the scene this year. Not necessarily in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but a company out there named Joby Aviation, Joby, is very close to making this a reality. They have announced that this year, 2025, initially in Dubai, they will be offering a flying taxi service. They have a vehicle they call an EVTOL. Stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing. The key word is landing to me. This vehicle uses multiple propellers that can rotate to lift the taxi and then tilt down to travel forward. Starting in Dubai, expanding hopefully by the end of this year to New York and Los Angeles. Okay, first things first. I don't know anything about Dubai. New York, way too many buildings, way too tall, way too congested. L.A., you know what happens when you crash into the trees of Los Angeles? You start a fire. One less reason, one less thing that can start a fire is a good thing in my mind in Los Angeles. Flying taxis, to me, that's like any other new advancement. I'm going to let several generations go of this is version 2, version 3.0. I'm going to wait for version like 11.0 before I hop into a flying taxi. I already have enough trouble looking at my Uber driver not thinking, how do I know this guy knows how to drive this car? I don't have any guarantees. A flying taxi? Forget it.
With your Ubers, I still don't trust the fact that I'm watching them in real time getting closer to me. I'm like, I don't believe this. I don't believe this is happening. Then all of a sudden they just turn right into the lot. Yeah. By God, it's there. Well, this is for rich people. It's not going to be available to us schmucks for a while. And to all those D-bags that would take laser pointers and mess with aircraft in the air, I always thought that was the biggest douche move, messing with pilots up there. Yeah. But the flying taxis, go ahead. For a while.
Yeah.
Well, I know there are rich people up there. Go ahead and mess with them a little bit if you want. Yeah.
I tell you, this is everything. This is the classic example of it's amazing this technology exists. It's ridiculous to think we should utilize it. You know what I mean? It's like it's like when we all went to high school with a kid who was like 6'9" but didn't play basketball, and you're like, clearly there's something about him that says don't play ball. I'm just going to trust that he knows himself better than I do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, great. This car flies like a helicopter. That doesn't mean you put a stranger in it and take him somewhere.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Who's driving these taxis? Because if it's half the Uber driver, hey, I've had some very good Uber drivers. You know who you are out there. But I've also had some. I mentioned just this summer, I was going from northeast Minneapolis to Golden Valley. Just a hop and a skip. Yeah. And I'd had a couple. I had been irresponsibly overserved, and all of a sudden I look up, I'm like, dude, are we on 494 right now? He said, yeah, there was a little traffic. I'm like, a little traffic? I mean, thank God this isn't the old taxi where they give you the ride around, take you for the ride. Yeah,
sure.
You've got a locked-in price, but you don't know where the hell you're going, do you?
Even I know you don't take that to Westopolis.
You son of a...
Yep.
That reminds me of a time I went to a casino on a riverboat somewhere near St. Louis once. or maybe it was Kansas City. No, it was... all I know is this. Me and a guy, my cousin worked for the band. We were on the road in the 90s, and we ended up at a riverboat casino way far from town. And sun's coming up, and we hop into a cab, and I just remember being shaken awake by the cab driver. We're here. And I'm like, okay, fine. And we roll out of the back seat. And my cousin paid the cab and then came to me and goes, you got to pay me back for that cab. I go, why? What's the big deal? He goes, it was $120. I was like,
holy
$120? You just said okay? He goes, yeah. He said 120 and I handed it to him. I'm like, no, you're on your own. I might be drunk and passed out, but I ain't that drunk and passed out, you idiot.
Yeah, he's got a couple of passed out guys back there. Just want to hit a drive-through.
Sure.
Drop some stuff off at Ma's place, and then I'll take them home.
You can get halfway across the whole state on I-70 for $120. We did not go that far back then. Number 4 in your top 5 at 9. There is a boat that is stuck on Beer Can Island still. It's not a new one. It's the same boat that's been there since August. And now some people in Hudson, the city of Hudson, is lobbying Wisconsin state officials to pass a law that would make boat abandonment a criminal offense. No more leaving that boat behind, ladies and gentlemen, unless you want to go up against Johnny Law.
Oh, they'll come back for it. Come on, what's the big deal? It's sitting out there on Beer Can Island. It's not like, there's a lot of traffic out there right now. Anyway, let the kids turn it into a fort or something.
It makes perfect sense to me when you see the photos. I mean, it's a 54-foot boat. It's been sitting there since August. If I were a kid in the area, I'd be all over that damn boat. Hell, I climbed up on a derailed train one time as a kid. They hadn't even cleared away all the boxcars, and we were climbing in that stuff. A boat marooned on an island in the river? Hell yeah.
I joked earlier, but there'll be a squatter out there before you know it. Somebody's probably already living in that damn thing. But yeah, I don't know. It's a nice touch. There should always be an abandoned boat on Beer Can Island, as far as I'm concerned.
It's called Beer Can Island. My God, of course there should be an abandoned boat or two at all times. And
I'm sorry, Hudson, are you complaining about an eyesore? An eyesore? All right, come on, Hudson, look around. Do a 360. Come on.
Man, number 3 on your top 5 at 9. We don't talk a lot about Kim Jong-un of North Korea. We wait for when it really does matter, and boy, it does now. Kim Jong-un has decided it is now a criminal offense to possess hot dogs in North Korea. Wieners of all sort. It's my man is big on random law creation. He says hot dogs are, quote, too Western.
Oh,
T-O-O.
Right about that, yeah.
And he says if you own them, that is now, quote, an act of treason. Anyone in North Korea caught selling Franks on the street or cooking them in their homes could be shipped off to a labor camp.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of this.
Wiener.
That was the Friends episode. I mean, I'm not for wasting wieners. I love me a good dog. Yeah. Bro, I don't want to waste them, but how do we not carpet bomb North Korea with a bunch of wieners right now? It's everywhere.
There's a dish over there they call army stew. A lot of Koreans love it. It's wieners with Spam, cabbage, Korean hot pepper paste, and broth. You know what that sounds like to me? Heaven in a bowl. My God. Those all the things. Very popular in South Korea since the end of the Korean conflict, if you will. Now North Koreans are getting on board, and he says, no, not the wieners here. We're not doing that. Ridiculous.
Yeah, he is the wiener, isn't he? I mean, that guy is clearly lacking one. He's a little too preoccupied with wieners.
Generations of his citizens sent to work camps. He can't even get me to raise an eyebrow. You ban hot dogs? That's terrible. Number 2 on the top 5 at 9, Jimmy John's taunting me, as they do. Jimmy John's, the sandwich joint, they have reintroduced Kickin' Ranch. A dressing that I'm embarrassed to admit I missed when they took it away. I don't go to Jimmy John's that often, but when I do, give me the Kickin' Ranch. Well, they brought it back, and now they're putting it in 6-ounce, soup-sized containers. And they're like, hey, they call it soup, in fact, good for slurping, dipping, or dripping. Hold the sandwich, just give me the Kickin' Ranch. I'll be good to go.
And a straw. I'll take that. I've been using ranch dressing as soup for years. It doesn't need anything. I mean, you got your tomato soup, like a bisque or something like that in that tomato soup, I think. Yeah, just try it sometime. A bowl full of ranch, and you're welcome.
If I ever come up with my own line of ranch dressing, this will be the slogan, Gorman's. It's embarrassingly perfect.
Anytime
I just don't need anything but ranch.
when you ask for a side of ranch in the Midwest, they bring you a side of ranch, or they'll say how many if they bring them those little plastic cups, which is really the best way to serve ranch, in a little plastic shot cup. And how many would you like? 6. Okay, thanks. Sometimes they'll just bring you out like a soup bowl full of ranch.
Sure.
But when you travel around other places, you'll be like, can I have some ranch? Extra ranch. Bring me a lot of ranch. Yeah. And then they'll bring you like, just slightly more ranch, like maybe you could dip 2 tots in. And I'm like, what do I got to do to get, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for getting more ranch. And they look at you like you're insane. Like, just need more ranch.
The correct answer to how much ranch is always all of it.
All of it. Top it off. Whatever you're putting in, right to the top.
Good morning, ranch fans in Chanhassen. Glad to have you with us for the Morning Ranch Report. Chanhassen, Minnesota. Ranch crazed from day one. Number 1 on your top 5 at 9. The Vikings have a playoff game Monday night in Los Angeles against the Rams, or not. The game will be played. The question is where. Chances are the league will move this game to Arizona, a state full of snowbirds from the upper Midwest, which would be great. But because of all the wildfires, of course, even if the fires have been contained, even if the severe crisis seems to be over or at least managed by Monday night, there's still, in my opinion, no reason to put 80,000 people into a stadium surrounded by, at that point, at best, wildfires that are burning out still. It just seems like an awful lot of stress and traffic and a lot of stuff to add to a city that's already completely on edge. I think they should move the game. They apparently will make the decision by the end of today as to whether or not they will.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'm kind of torn on it because, you're like, get it. I mean, you look at the photos this morning. I've been clicking around, and it is an unimaginable wasteland out there in a lot of the areas. Of course, a lot of things still burning. So many people have been displaced. You're like, hey, we're going to play a football game. But, maybe sometimes that's the distraction they need. But like you said, I don't know, logistically where this thing is located as opposed to some of these fires. But it seems like, maybe just getting the hell out of there might be the best deal for everyone.
For everybody who says, why do we care about all these celebrities' houses burning down? It's because, trust me, I get that thinking. For every house that's gone in Malibu and the Palisades of a celebrity, there's 50 that it's someone you've never heard of who's just getting up and working a regular job.
Absolutely.
We always focus on the glitz and glamour. It's Hollywood, for crying out loud. But make no mistake, the vast majority of people who will be suffering from these fires are hardly... Billy Crystal lost his house. He's had it since 1979. His home, gone. That's tragic. I don't care who you are. Just one name off the top of my head that I saw. But, of course, far, 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 far more people that are anything but famous are going to be suffering for many, many years now. It's just an absolutely brutal thing. In the midst of that, I don't think you need a football game. That's all I'm saying. There's your top 5 at 9.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.